Mr. Oscar Devillafranca. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much all. Okay, my name is Oscar Devillafranca. I am the managing director of the Remaned company. Our company is the largest manufacturer of diesel components in Europe. We are based in Spain, and we have two factories, one in Spain and one in the UK, to meet with the market demand in the European countries. Okay, so I will talk on the diesel manufactured components positively affecting to the user, market, and environment. Okay, let's start. Okay, in the event to buy a new car, everything is going very well. The user is very happy to start to use the new car, and nothing is happening. Okay. During a long period, the user is enjoying the ride with the car, but once the warranty period is over, 3 or 4 years later and 200,000 kilometers later, something may happen. Okay. Today, the diesel engines are very delicate because they are reaching a very high performance, very high power, and this also means that all components are made by high technology components. Probably with these components we can reach a very high power, but this is affecting to the delicate of the product. When a breakdown happens, then we have to go to also make the diagnostic. And if we make the quote with new components, for example, when we are changing diesel components for 4 injectors and 1 pump, we may have a very big bill. With this sample, we have $4,000 of a bill. So we have a very unhappy customer, we have a very unhappy workshop because it's not doing the repairing. Also, we have a very unhappy seller because it's not selling the injectors or the pump. Okay? The consequence is very simple. The car is going to the scrapyard. Okay? Then if we have the quote with Remaned components, we have a very happy customer because we have a very big reduced bill of $3,000, and we have a very happy customer because can enjoy with the car. Also we have a very happy workshop because he's doing the work, a very happy seller because he's selling the parts. The consequences also are very simple. Okay? Well, in the market you can find different actors. You can find different manufactured components. One of the actors are the workshops who are working in a local market. They have not an estimation on prices, and the warranty period is from 1 to 3 months. Then you have the rebuilder with the national market of action. The price may be 40–50% less, and also you have a warranty up to 12 months. And then you have the high-tech manufacturer with the international action 50–60% less and a warranty of up to 4 years. This is the repair procedure for the repairing in a workshop. Okay, we have 5 steps. We have the dismantling, which is made with regular tools. The cleaning, handmade. The verification is visual. The assembly with regular tools, and the testing by homologated or alternative test machinery. If you look, this is one injector repair. In the workshop, they are only changing the nozzle. So there are many other components that is very important to change, because if not, we will not be able to guarantee the quality of this component. And this is the looking of a repaired component. Then we have the rebuilding procedure. We have the dismantling made by industrial process, the cleaning, industrial cleaning, verification, visual and precision measurement tools, assembly, regular tools and torque tools. This is very important. These kind of components are very delicate, so it's very important to inspect the torque tools. And also we have the testing by homologated or alternative test machinery, and then we have the quality control. Okay? This is the components changing during the rebuilding process. We have the nozzle, we have the gaskets, and we have other components very important to guarantee a good quality of the product. And this is the looking of a rebuilt component. Then we have the high-tech manufacturers, and we have the remanufacturing procedure. During the dismantling, we have a pre-cleaning, industrial process, cleaning, industrial drying, and also we have the treatment to protect the product. Then we have the verification process, visual, precision measurement tools, durability treatments. Then we have the assembly, regular tools, torque tools, pre-testing, and then we have the testing, homologated or alternative test machinery, quality control, and marking. All of these products are controlled and tracked by a traceability plan. If you look into the differences between the repairing, rebuilding, and remanufacturing, you see that now we are changing the nozzle, the nut, the valve, and the pin, and with this kind of combination, it's very easy to reach a very high level of quality. This is the traceability plan. If you look into the part number, you can see that there is also a traceability serial number, and with this traceability number, we can find and we can see all test procedure for this product. We know the person who has made the assembly, the dismantle, the testing, and also we have all values. In case of any problem, we can follow and we can identify very, very quick the problem. Okay? And this is the final looking. Okay, it's very close to us to a new product. Well, talking on energy consumption, you can see that there is a very big difference between the production of a new component. For example, we are taking as a sample of the most important components of an engine. If you see, we need 9,970 megajoules to produce one engine block. If we do the remanufacturing of the same block, we need only 600 megajoules. At the end, with one engine, we are using 18,100 megajoules, and with the remanufacturing, only 1,850 megajoules. There is a big difference with this. Okay? Okay, this is when we are doing a manufacturing of this kind of engine components, or we are doing the remanufacturing, we do a set of 6 new steel pistons. We are emitting to the environment 111 CO2 gases. And when I reman steel pistons, we are emitting to the environment only 4 kilograms. So there is a big difference between the new components and the remanufactured components. It is the same. We are talking about the difference between the remanufacturing and the production of the manufacturing of the new components. Okay, 111 kilograms versus only 4 kilos. Okay. And that's all. I would like only to make a reflection why we have to buy new parts when we can buy remanufactured parts with the same quality, with the same availability, and with a lower price. Also, we can protect the environment. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oscar. Please join your colleagues right as I introduce our next speaker. Talking about the remanufacturing a Northern American perspective. So to present this, we have Mr. Dil Kulathum. Let me share some of the information that's already in the brochure that you've got about Dil Kulathum. He's Vice President of International of Cardone, which is a 5,000 person company. He's been with them for 14 years. Apart from global catalogue service, which supports more than 40,000 part numbers, the Cardone offers, he's currently, and he can name all of them by the way, he is currently responsible for sales and marketing, strategy and business development outside the US and Canada. He's helped Cardone with their globalisation into Europe, Mexico, Latin America, the Middle East and Asia. Prior to assuming his current role, he had several roles in Cardone, including a Director of Corporate Marketing, Director of Market Development, and Director of World Trade. Before joining Cardone, he was Manager International Business Development at the Stan Schrader division of the Gates Corporation. Let me just share a little bit about his educational background with you. Hang about for this one. His educational background includes a bachelor's degree in business from Oral Roberts University, an MBA in International Business Management from the Thunderbird School of Global Management, and executive programs at the Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania, Harvard Business School, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Sloan School of Management. I'm surprised he's got time to be here today, and he also says he enjoys spending time with his family, etc., etc. I wonder how he's got time to do all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Dil Kulathum to talk about remanufacturing and North American perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I get the privilege of sharing with you a little bit about a perspective from North America. One, most of you probably have not heard about Cardone Industries, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Cardone Industries. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the North American aftermarket, and then more detail about remanufacturing and how it has become a powerful, large part of the automotive aftermarket in the United States, Canada, etc. Okay? Cardone. We are the largest privately held remanufacturer in the world, family held. We actually have almost 6,000 people now, and over 43 years, since 1970, about over 46,000 different part numbers. We're what we would call an all makes, all models kind of company. For Asian, European, American, you name it, we cover 46,000 plus part numbers. We have over 3.4 million square feet under roof, meaning over 320,000 square meters of factory and warehouse. So it's a very large operation. I'm giving you these stats just so you understand remanufacturing and Cardone is part of something very large, and I'll give you more details. We have our headquarters in Philadelphia, which is where I'm based. We have operations in Philadelphia and also Mexico, and warehouses in those places in Canada and US. These are the major product divisions that we focus on. We have done certain products outside those, but brakes, electronics, motors, pumps, drivetrain, fuel, air, and steering. You heard Oscar talk about diesel components. These are other components that we focus on in our 46,000 different part numbers. So this gives you an idea of the span of parts that can be remanufactured and play an important part in the aftermarket. We also do, as Oscar mentioned, high-tech parts in our categories. Electronic power steering, anti-pinch window lift motors, ABS, electric calipers. So remanufacturing has kept up with the technology as it has evolved. So in mechatronic, electronic, we are remanufacturing those products as well. What's important in the aftermarket? It doesn't matter where you are in the world, here in the Middle East or Africa, etc., North America, what drives parts to break and the aftermarket is the vehicle, what's on the road, how old are the vehicles, and how often are the vehicles used in driving. Miles, kilometers, whatever. In miles, it's affected by the economy and the fuel price. Obviously, in the US versus Europe, it's one price. Here, it's another price. In Venezuela, it's really cheap. When it comes to the US and Canada, these are a little view of what we deem is important. We see as the vehicle park and the vehicle age as green, they're positive trends. In the US, miles driven is affected by what we consider high fuel prices at about $3 or $4 a gallon, if you would. I know that's cheap compared to Europe, but for the US market, that's expensive. So sometimes people back up a little bit in their driving, which affects the aftermarket. These are some other things that we look at, and for basically, if the economy is having a little bit more difficult time, we do more business on the parts side. People keep their cars. These are just some things that we look at when it comes to the aftermarket. Now, the aftermarket in the US, as you can see, has been on a steady increase. That $200+ billion market is what we play in US alone. $200+ billion of aftermarket parts and accessories and service. It's been on a steady increase of 2 to 3%, up to 4%. Again, as I travel the world, I see different growth rates. I think you're in a nice growth rate here in the Middle East and Africa regions and emerging markets. Again, in the US, which is a mature market like Western Europe, these are the kind of growth rates that we have seen in US. Average age of the vehicle. Vehicles are getting older. That's good for business. So I believe right now, actually, it's a little bit higher than 10 years per vehicle. Scrappage versus new car sales. This is important to us as well. Vehicles in operation. We can see that the green right over here, just in the US, we're talking about over 250 million vehicles. Our customers, Cardone's for example, expect us to cover everything on the road in that green. 250 million vehicles. That's a lot of pressure on a remanufacturer or any supplier. And now as I focus on remanufacturing, I'm not going to read all the points that I'm going to show you here, but I'm going to bring out a few points of people ask me, why is remanufacturing so powerful in the US and Canada? Well, let me give you a little background. This is where it started back in the 1920s and 30s. These are some of the different things that caused it. Again, I'm not going to read every point, but mass production started. There was the Great Depression. There was a war in there that limited materials. People had to reuse parts, had to keep cars and trucks moving. That helped in 1942. In 62, the government said remanufacturing is officially accepted and defined as being part of the trade policies of the United States. In the 70s, there was, if you remember, the environmental concern. In 1976, the same thing with the Environmental Protection Agency being involved. Again, some more detail when it comes to the President's Council being involved. So this gained attraction in the U.S. market as giving rise to the strength of remanufacturing. Then different states, Texas, Connecticut, and California, they all passed laws recognizing remanufacturing. What are the benefits? Oscar mentioned some of the things. He went through a process specifically for his parts. We're talking about quality, conservation of energy, natural resources. Again, in certain areas it's a little bit more sensitive than others. Here's a few points. New starters. Oscar mentioned it in terms of energy. How about this? New starters require 9 times more raw materials than remanufactured, or alternators 8 times more. That's a lot of material that remanufacturing is saving. Reduces waste, reduces pollution. Again, different stats that I believe we can see. What is remanufacturing? This is by CLEPA, which is the Autoparts Association in Europe, and MIRA, which is a remanufacturing association in US. A remanufactured product fulfills a similar function to the original part. It is manufactured using a standardized industrial process in line with specific technical specifications. The industrialized process incorporates defined core management standards, and a remanufactured spare part is warranted as a new spare part. This is critical. You cannot make remanufactured parts substandard. It has to meet high quality standards. It's not like doing something in the middle of the street. Matter of fact, again, this is just a simple chart. Again, Oscar had a chance to give you much more detail as it relates to diesel products, but this right-hand column, far right, is what remanufacturing is. It is not the other 3 columns on the left of that. It's this column that says complete, 100% replaced, etc., etc. That is remanufacturing. That is what Cardone does, that is what Oscar does, and this is what remanufacturing is. And there are a lot of misinterpretations and miscommunication about remanufacturing, even governments. I've spoken at the World Trade Organization in Geneva, I've spoken in Beijing, Singapore, you name it. A lot of different things I hear about remanufacturing. Once people understand what Oscar does and they visit our plants and they see, I don't know how many people Oscar has, but we have 5,000-6,000 people doing something very well that has helped Cardone sell more than 500 million parts. I always challenge, I don't know how many companies here have sold 500 million parts remanufactured, but I don't think it's because of bad quality. I don't think it's because of bad price. Somebody wanted those parts. This is the loop. We sell a part as a remanufacturer, Oscar does. It gets sold to a customer who has a distribution center. It goes to the parts store. It goes to a mechanic. It goes back. The old part gets taken off the vehicle, whatever it is, car, truck, whatever. It goes back to the parts store, back to the distribution center, and back to us. Out of every 100 parts that we sell, 95 come back with the old part in our box, where we can scan it in. Millions and millions of units every year. Remanufacturing really helps out in this space when the car is older, 7+ years older. So when car is under warranty, it's under warranty. Out of warranty, people do not want to spend a lot of money on their cars, fixing it. That's where remanufacturing has a benefit. You heard Oscar mention about 30 to 50% below the price of a new. That's where money savings happens for the consumer. Failure rates. Cars are getting older and they have different failure rates as you move forward. Annual replacement rates, cars are getting built better. And less parts are needed, but they're still needed. These categories, for example, again, in the US market, again, think about your respective markets that you serve. These are over 90% remanufactured. These and other categories. That means over 90% of aftermarket needs are met with remanufactured brake calipers, alternators, CV joints, etc. Engines, our steering, computers, engine control modules. I travel the world and I see that cars are stuck all over the world. In the US, over 90% are remanufactured. Rack titanium, etc. Here's my last slide that I wanted to give you a perspective. US, Canada, 40 billion in sales, 3,800 companies, 350,000 jobs, covering 280 million cars and light trucks. So this is a big business in North America, and I think it is becoming more sensitive as the years go by when it comes to environmental reasons and economic reasons, and keeping cars moving. That, keep in mind, in the US and Canada, people expect their cars fixed the same day. Not the same week, not the same month, not the same year. I travel the world and I hear stories about cars and trucks being stuck for weeks and months. That is not acceptable. People need their cars and they want them fixed the same day. And this is what remanufacturing helps to speed the supply chain with options that are quality and price sensitive as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dil. I have an apology, and I think most of you probably picked up why I've got to apologise. I was calling Cardone, but of course it's Cardone, as in car done. You know, you arrive and they say, is my car ready? And they say, yeah, car done. And in this case, it's Cardone. So my apologies. Now I would like to move to our next speaker, who also falls under the same umbrella of the remanufacturing area. It gives me pleasure now, as we move on to the title of the Core Exchange Program, to introduce Mr. Jamieson Nunn. Jamieson is the Business Development Manager of OWS Autoparts. He hails from America. He has more than 10 years of sales experience, along with management and customer service experience. His experiences through business have honed him to have a fair and balanced approach to management. Jamieson's commitment to the big picture fuels his drive to be the hardest working and most productive. I'm going to find out about that today too. He believes that by example is the only way to lead his teams. As a development manager, he knows it's important to stay in tune with his field while constantly seeking opportunities to grow the company. And that's why people come to automechanika. He's motivated his teams to maximise productivity, empower the employees to make decisions, and understands accountability is a great way to ensure positive outcomes. So I'm not going to read any more of this because I know that you'll all whet your appetite, and I know we're going to get a great presentation from Jamieson. So please give him a very warm, loud, thunderous round of applause.
Good going to talk a little bit about the core exchange process for remanufacturing. Again, thank you for the introduction. Dil, Oscar, you guys did a great job introducing the concept of remanufacturing. What I'm going to talk to you about is money. The core exchange process is all about how you can use remanufacturing to generate income. Fast forward. So a spare part, just like an apple, has a core. The core is actually the value that you find in this process. So what is a core? Is it junk, scrap, or is it money? Obviously, this is the reason I'm here. So generally speaking, cores are bale material, old or used parts that you find in the junkyard, scrap yards. Here in the Middle East, they're referred commonly as Sinaiya or the industrial area. This is where you find the old parts that you use to remanufacture and make the high quality parts that Dil and Oscar have both spoken about. Let's talk about the money. All right, so for example, you may come and purchase a remanufactured starter for a Toyota Camry. The base price of this starter is 600 dirhams, and we use the local pricing here. The core value that is added on top of that is about 155 dirhams. The combined final price on this would be 755 before you return the old core. Once the customer has the old core taken off of the vehicle, they can actually exchange that core for money, and then you actually get a credit or a cash refund of 155 dirhams. This is incentive for your customers to return the part and bring it back to you. And this is the reason why Cardone is able to maintain a 95% core return rate in the United States, because there's value coming back for those cores. Can everybody hear me okay? If there's any problem, just please feel free to let me know. So a closer look at the numbers. This is a little bit more detail about the previous slide. You can see on an alternator for a 2007 Hyundai Sonata, the core value is 290. And it goes up depending on what the model of the car is. If it's a high-priced German vehicle, you'll see that the core value can be over 500 dirhams, it can be 800 dirhams, it could be 1,000. This is, like I said, a real incentive for your customers to get actively involved in this exchange process. We want your cores, of course. So just to understand exactly what the value is the core value that we mentioned that's added on top is what enables your customer and guarantees that they're going to return the part. The value is not lost by returning the part, and the value is returned to the customer when they return that part. So the way the core return process works is that the cores are collected locally, like I said, in Sinaiya, in every region, in every market. They're collected locally by a distributor. They're sent to the United States, they're sent to Europe for remanufacturing, then they're returned back to the distributor, and then they are returned back to the marketplace, either sold or exchanged for the credits. So Dil already mentioned, and Oscar already mentioned some of the environmental benefits. We actually, in the United States, are pulling about 70,000 tons annually out of landfills worth of core. So these are the millions and millions of remanufactured parts that Dil has spoken of. And of course, it reduces waste disposal. By pulling these cores directly out of the market, they're no longer going into junkyards, they're no longer seeping into the groundwater. There's just so many benefits, and it truly is a win-win for the market and for all the companies and parties involved. I mentioned this already, about 70,000 tons annually. Remanufacture saves. So, the great thing about the core process is that you're actually restarting or resetting the clock on these remanufactured parts. And this is something that can be done over and over again, because you're taking those core components and you're reusing them. After maybe the 7 or 8 year life of the part that you remanufacture, it can be remanufactured again. This is something that can continue on and on as long as those parts and those cars are on the road. You can keep continuing to remanufacture the same parts. as Dil mentioned, the average age of the cars in the United States is actually about 10.8% right now. In many parts of North America, it's over 15 years old for the average car. Of course, here in UAE, it's about 5.5 years. Everybody has to have something new, right? Okay. So this is just, a snapshot of what the local market looks like. If you're ever down in the industrial areas of Sharjah or Dubai or any areas within this region, you're going to see piles and piles and tons of cores that are being sold as used, sub-quality, because they don't have the same rigorous process that remanufacturing undergoes. Right now, we're actually working here in Dubai, throughout UAE, throughout the GCC, with a lot of local workshops. We've actually already actively begun the core return process with these people, and it's been quite successful, and it's being very well received in the market. I had a discussion, I want to say maybe the first day of the show, with a couple of people that were attempting to do this maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and they said that they were not able to do it successfully because they weren't able to educate the general public about how effective this is. We've been here for 2 years, and so far it's gone outstanding. It's been a tremendous growth, and we've actually been able to send a lot of units monthly back to the remanufacturers in the States and in Europe. That's pretty much all I have. Thank you, Shukran.
Wow, this is huge business. Just in the United States and Canada alone, 40 billion. Last week, was it? No. Annually. Amazing. And the size of what Cardone is doing is also amazing. We have got 3 experts on the remanufacturing industry, 3 global experts, sitting in front of you right now. So let's just turn this over to you for some questions. Let's start over here. I will give you the microphone. I don't have it. Sarah's got it. Thank you very much. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
My name is Walid. I work for Miss Frankfurt, a gentleman in the Nunn. First things, I was a victim of the buying reused compressor for the air condition when I went to Sharjah. Actually, they don't give any guarantee. They tell you want to buy reused, it's there. It's not clean, it's dirty. The mechanic itself will change it for you. I went around 2 hours and I had no air conditioning. I came back, the guy told me, sorry, it's done. So I think, first of all, the mentality of purchasing or selling doesn't exist. Second, the second mechanic, when I went to change the compressor, he replaced it with a commercial one. It's not original. So I think if you remanufacture those parts and you come to the distributor to say it's a commercial part, not remanufactured, then you might have better way to introduce your product in the market. Because I think a lot of products here, mainly for their cars, are not original. But they don't say remanufactured, they say it's commercial part, not original. So if you say in that case that this is original, but cleaned and made new, then maybe the people or the distributor will accept it much better.
Well, we, at this point, I want to say we're kind of rewinding the clock, because about 30, 35 years ago in the States, the market was, almost identical to what the market is here. People were unfamiliar with what remanufactured parts are. They had no knowledge of what, how the benefit is to your pockets, to the environment, and it was a rough process at the beginning. Initially we really had to educate and get out into the market and make people understand. But one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to confuse people by thinking that they're commercial parts or cheap Chinese parts or something that is going to be of less quality. So
this is what you call, you have the ethical code in your company, that you say the reality. But I'm living here since 10 years in this world.
yes.
So this doesn't exist. When you go there, people will replace the parts, in my case the air conditioner, compressor,
Yes.
and that's all.
Yes.
So if I have been informed in that case that this is original Honda, really made in Japan, but we only cleaned, and this is the ticket of Remaned of Cardone, then in that case I will feel much more comfortable to say, okay, I don't care if it's remanufactured, rather than selling me Sandan, I think there was one brand Sadan, something like that. They said, well, this is commercial. Commercial means it's not original. But I will be interested in buying original one part, in that case compressor, remanufactured or recleaned, arranged. I think it's the way of approaching the client. Thank you.
I think the challenge was, the clue was when he went back to the mechanic in Jaja, the mechanic said, what did he say? Cardone. That was the big clue for you. What you wanted him to say was Cardone. So he said Cardone, and that was the biggest problem. He shouldn't be saying Cardone or OWS. Yeah. Any more questions? Behind here. No. It's fighting over the mic.
Yes, hello. My name is Villefranca. I'm also working for a company who's quite good in remanufacturing. But our experience was that in countries where the especially labor cost level is quite low, workshops rather repair their stuff than collecting cores and sending it back to the remanufacturer. How's your experience in this case, and how did you handle this also in this area to make some real business?
Who'd like to take that question? You couldn't hear the question. Okay, you just hold the microphone a little closer and repeat the question.
Maybe again. In countries like in the Middle East, where the labor cost level is quite low, workshops rather repair their units than make it remanufacturing, meaning having all the works, getting the cores back, sending to remanufacture. And as you mentioned, you do some successful reman business here. How were you able to handle this?
Oh, okay. Well, what we started with is we started with supplying fleets locally. So a lot of our customers already have large operations going. So this was able to sustain our growth as a company. Once you introduce the concept to a fleet that has 3,000, 5,000 vehicles, and you're able to successfully convey the message to them, and they realize how much money they can save, and they realize what the quality is, this helps to make the sale. Then once you make the first sale, all the other sales follow, because now they're a loyal customer because of the quality that you're giving them.
And the next question we have over here.
My name is Tunde. I come from Nigeria, and I run a garage, a workshop. Over there is not much of information when it comes to manufacturing at all. That's why you find people buying, for example, buying a transmission for as much as $8,000 US. That is a used transmission, actually, not rebuilt. It's just used. And then the person gives you a 2 weeks guarantee period. The seller tells you, well, in 2 weeks, if it breaks down on your own, I don't know nothing about it. And then I find out that people like us that own garages now have a challenge, which is a huge pile-up of bad parts, replaced parts, transmissions, engines, and all that. And times we want to rebuild. I can rebuild a transmission. I can rebuild an engine. But the challenge is that the parts I'm going to rebuild with, where's the source? If I get some standard part to rebuild an engine, it won't work like it came from factory. Now, if I now look at the cost of getting an OEM part to rebuild an engine, then the cost just shoots off the roof. Because the manufacturer doesn't ordinarily want to sell me the OEM parts. And when he's forced to sell the OEM parts, then I have a problem, which is that the cost of rebuilding sometimes is higher than the cost of the engine. Now, in that kind of market, how do we do it? Because we have a problem. Remanufacturing is not there. We cannot recycle. And I've been to so many places and I see piles, tons of used parts just rotting away there. Nothing happens. So where do we go from there?
Well, this is why we're here. We are looking always for new markets for us. We are presented in the States, presented in Europe. We have many customers that This is why we are always working to be able to find new markets for our products. Okay. With regard to the question of how you can do the remanufacturing, companies like Cardone or Remaned, they have a very big demand on products. So you are talking about the prices of the spares for your engines or your components. Okay, we need at least millions or hundreds of thousands of parts. So this is why when you have a demand, you have an offer. And this is why we are buying a very few quantity of parts for our manufacturing purchases. We are doing industrial purchases for manufacturing, and this is why we can keep our prices very competitive.
And just to add on to that, you saw the pictures of the piles of parts that I believe Jamieson showed, and you mentioned that you saw them in Nigeria and other places, just piles of parts. Well, that's piles of material and work and energy that went into those. That's also piles of money. And if someone was an entrepreneur and collected some of that stuff and sent it to people like Oscar and myself, and we remanded it and got it back to you, you would be making lots of money. And so people who see that will get going, and it will change a market. But what you see is exactly right, it's an opportunity.
Yes, are you looking into starting something in Africa, maybe a collection center or something? I mean, because these things are there, and I have a problem with that. They are not environmentally friendly when you just dump them somewhere. It's not safe to have them. It's hazardous to the environment. It's going to just keep them there.
Well, OWS actually is already here in the market. We're, along with these guys, we've actually been here for the last 2 years. We're operating in Dubai. We have a warehouse in Sharjah, and we are looking to expand across the entire MENA region. So, we're definitely looking to include all parts of Africa, and logistically, now is the part where we're, setting up how can we reach into Africa, into these different countries on the eastern and the northern. So I guess the answer is to hold on and look on.
Did you say a 2-week guarantee that they gave? But for $8,000 transmission? Yes. 2 weeks. Can you do better than 2 weeks? 3?
Just so you know.
Maybe even 4. The stretch will go to 4-week guarantee. Eh? Wow, this is good. Cardone do a great job.
Just so you know, the short guarantees and the short warranties are very common in underdeveloped markets. So even here in the GCC, a lot of the garages, and they're not able to offer any type of guarantee for the customer unless they're an original manufacturer. But the Reman parts, they have the original quality.
Yeah.
A year, almost, 2 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes we even have limited lifetime warranties. So this is something brand new to the market, and it's going to revolutionize it.
Okay. We have time for one more question. There are 2 people who shot their hands up, so let's see how we go. We'll start with this one here.
Hello, yeah, my name is Javed. Since all of you are from Reman Industries, my first question is, who do you think is your competitor in that industry? When you are remanufacturing any item and sending and selling in the market, who do you think is your competition? I have my question to both the gentlemen. And my second question is, since you mentioned that it is as good as an OE quality, so why can't these, are you also dealing with the OEs to sell them as OES? Because basically you are trying to replace an OES market with a Reman market. So these are 2 questions.
Our competitors, if you look into my presentation, you have the workshop, you have the builder, and also you have the new part. So by the clean and equipment manufacturers. Our company is not dealing now with the OE because our company is very young. We created the company in 2009. Now we have a turnover of 30 million euros. So our company is growing up. Only 4 years. We have a turnover of 30 million euros.
I would say that our competition is anything that takes away from people's choice in the middle. Whether it's quality, price, warranty. As I travel, I see that developed markets like Western Europe, US, have more options of, if you want to buy an expensive part with lifelong warranty, you can pay for that. If you want to find something in a junkyard, you can find that. If you want to find what I would call the money in the middle, that's what remanufacturing offers. Safe parts that I would want to put on my family's vehicles, that my wife can drive a car, or my kids, or whatever. Anything that comes against that is not the friend of any of us. And so that's just at the highest level. I would say that the opportunities are going to continue growing as well.
There's one more question over here, I believe.
Thank you, Gino from Australia here. So my question actually just follows on from what the gentleman was just speaking about. In Australia, we're a remanufacturer of electronics components, and we're now finding the OE are embracing remanufacturing for not only out of warranty supply, but in warranty supply too now. Now it is various components, and my question is to Dil and also Oscar, are you finding that in your regions as well?
Yes, I very much so. Matter of fact, most of our product is all for the aftermarket, including the OES. So we do work for vehicle manufacturers, for tier 1 suppliers, and for the general aftermarket distribution channels. And there is a growing awareness of the OEs and vehicle manufacturers that remanufacturing is indeed a good option, not only for out of warranty, but for in warranty as well.
And just to add a final point to that, remanufacturing is already here in the region. A lot of the OE dealers have remanufactured parts on their shelves right now as we speak. And in a region like this, they don't necessarily differentiate between what's remanufactured and what's new for the customer because the quality there is the same.
Okay, thank you. In view of the time which is pressing on, we've got other speakers who are waiting in the wings, as they say, to move on to the next part of this afternoon. I'd like you to help me thank the three gentlemen who have been on the stage, Mr. Oscar Devillafranca, Mr. Dil Kulathum, and Mr.